Hello, good morning, dear students. My name is Dr.Shuaib Mohammad Bhat. I am working as Assistant Professor in the Department of English at Institute of Aeronautical Engineering, Hyderabad. Today, in this video lecture, we shall be talking about reading comprehension. Reading comprehension is one of the main topics. It will be required for a number of examinations, and it forms one of the main topics in your syllabus as well. So let's see what reading comprehension is. Previously, we talked about reading. There I talked about reading as a language skill. I told you there what reading is and how reading is important for all of us. Now here, let's discuss about reading comprehension. What comprehension is and what reading comprehension is. What does it mean to read and understand a text? Because comprehension, when it comes to comprehension, comprehension came from a word comprehend. That means to understand something, to confront something. So here it is reading comprehension, to understand the reading, to understand any text. Now, what does it mean to read and understand a text? So is it different or something else? Let's see, let's go with the slide. Central to any conceptualization of reading comprehension is that it requires the construction of mental representation of the text information in a text. This is said by Walter Kinch. Walter Kinch is an American psychologist. He talks about reading comprehension. He says, the central idea of reading comprehension is that it requires the construction of a mental representation. He says reading comprehension means to construct the mental representation of the given text. Whatever the written text is in front of you, to construct the mental representation of that text is reading comprehension. Now here you need to use your mind. So if it is only to construct the mental representation, that means to understand. So when we construct the mental representation of anything, so that cannot be done. This mental reconstruction of anything cannot be done without the use of our brain. And when we use our brain, when we reconstruct something in our mind, that means we are understanding that. This reconstruction is incomplete without understanding anything. So we understand things when we construct things in the mind, when we understand them. For example, a person coming from Germany is speaking to you in German, and German is a totally strange language to you. You are not able to understand a single sound of that language. So if that person tells you in that language, like, okay, I'm offering you a job where you will get handsome salary in German language. Then he asks you, those who want this job offer, kindly raise your hands in German language. What will you do? Will you raise hands? No. Will you show any expression of understanding? No. Now, if the same person speaks in your native language, and if the person goes with the speed, goes with the flow, if you do not understand the entire sentence, few of the words, few of the sounds, you may understand them. That may reach to your mind and you may reconstruct the meaning. So this reconstruction is incomplete without understanding. That is what comprehension is. Comprehension means to understand. And this is what Walter Kinch says. He says, reading comprehension, the central to this concept is to reconstruct the meaning, to construct the mental representation of a given text in the mind. Then I would like to go with another influential person by the name Snow. He says, more formally, reading comprehension has been defined what? The process of simultaneously extracting and constructing meaning through interaction and involvement with the written language. Again, that's very simple thing is this. Comprehension means simultaneously extracting. At the same time, to extract and construct meaning through interaction. Because when you are having a text with you, you interact with that text. You interact with that text. You try to know with what mindset this text has been written. What is the background of this text? In what context the text is talking about? And your involvement with the written language. Then you also pay attention to the language. Language can be used in a number of ways. We have the figurative language. We write in the figurative language. We write in the literal language. We have different forms are there. We have technical writing there. So, this is, according to Snow, reading comprehension means to extract and construct meaning through interaction and involvement with written language. So it is again to understand, to construct, to extract, to understand. Comprehension means to understand. Then, reading involves three interrelated elements. Now, the question is, how can we extract the meaning? How can we understand the written stuff? So for that purpose, you need to know this thing that every reading activity involves three interrelated elements. One is the reader. Number one is reader. Reader is important. Without reader, reading cannot happen. Second, the text. We should have a text which a reader will read. Then the activity of reading or reading task. Then comes the activity. Reading is an activity. It's not like somebody is having text in the hand and at the same time sipping coffee, talking on phone with somebody else, doing some other side work from here, and at the same time a person feels that I am reading some text. Oh, it's an active activity. It's an activity which requires your concentration, your attention. When you read a text, you are talking with that text, or that text is talking to you. It's an active communication between the text and you, or directly between the author and you. So we need the activity text, activity or reading task, and all situated into a broader socio-cultural context. Then, to comprehend a text, a reader must be equipped with a host of abilities. Now, what are the abilities how should a reader be? For reading comprehension, we read a reader. The reader should be a man or should be a person with a number of capabilities, like a reader should be attentive, should pay attention to the text. A reader should have a good memory. A reader should be a motivated person. A reader should have reading goals. Why do I read? For what purpose I am reading? What will this reading give me? And how much will I read? In one sitting or in a day? Then a reader must have an interest. And a reader must be a knowledgeable person. He must have domain knowledge, the subject knowledge. For example, if the text is about climate change, a reader must have an existing knowledge about climate change. Then only he can interpret the meaning from the text. And he or she must have linguistic knowledge. When a reader is equipped with all this, with linguistic knowledge, what are the different forms of writing? What are the different structures of sentences? How can we use adjectives? What is the vocabulary? What is glossary? A reader for reading comprehension must have a bag of these qualities. Then Although each of these elements is important for reading comprehension, so all of these elements, they are important for reading comprehension. Then, reading comprehension is an important skill for navigating the textual world around us. So it is important to navigate the textual world around us. We navigate this textual world around us with the help of reading comprehension. And it's a dynamic process that involves making predictions, summarizing the main idea, questioning one's predictions, and clarifying unclear concepts. It's a process by which we make predictions, by which we summarize the main idea, we question one's predictions, and we try to clarify unclear concepts. It's also the ability to read text, process it, and understand its meaning. It's one of the pillars of the act of reading comprehension. And when a person reads a text, he engages in a complex area of cognitive process. It's not something which is superficial. It's not something which can be done without the presence of your mind, without the presence of your intellect, without the presence of your spirit. No, your cognitive abilities are required because you are in a complex array. You are in a complex process. A reader is simultaneously using his or her awareness and understanding of phonemes, the connection between sounds, letters and words, and the ability to comprehend or construct meanings from the text. A reading comprehension requires a reader to use his awareness and understanding of a language, phonetic aspect of every language. A reader should be aware about the different sounds, should be aware the connection between sounds, between letters and words. Then only he can comprehend a text in a constructive way. Then, see, there are some fallacies about reading comprehension. Some people feel that after every comprehension we are having some questions. Now people think that to give answer to the questions is reading comprehension. That's not reading comprehension. What reading comprehension is not. It's not about answering those literal questions at the end of story chapter or textbook section. You are reading a story followed by questions. You are reading a chapter followed by questions. You are reading a textbook followed by questions. If you are able to answer the questions, does it mean you are good at reading comprehension? No, sometimes the questions may be according to a standard and you may give easily answers. Reading comprehension is a different activity where you need to do justice with the content, justice with the language, justice with different other parameters. So it's not to give answer, to provide answer to the questions given at the end. Then, comprehension is not about spitting out facts and filling in blanks. One and the same thing. To extract the fact and fill in the blanks, no, this is not comprehension. Then what's it? It's to understand. And reading is not merely about calling, reading is about thinking. Comprehension is understanding. Hey, understand this text. And you understand the text when you read it. And reading is not merely calling out words. You read loudly, you are speaking the slides, the written material. No, reading is about thinking. Reading means to think. Thinking itself means to understand. Then I would like to see now this whole process, it seems it's about reading. So the first thing which I am talking about is the reader. I would like to take the help of Michael Presley. He's an American educational psychologist. He talks about some qualities of a reader. So a reader must be equipped with these qualities. Like the reader must be aware of why he is reading a text. A reader or readers must know why they are reading a text. Purpose. There should be a goal, which I told you in the previous slides. A reader must be equipped with the knowledge, with the intention with the goal why or what he or she is reading. Gain an overview of the text before reading. It's better to get some overview of the text which a reader is reading. Then make predictions about the upcoming text. One should make predictions about the upcoming the text which is coming in the next paragraph, next pages. We should make a prediction. When a reader makes a prediction, he checks whether he is understanding the text clearly or not. Then read selectively based on their overview. It's better to read selectively based on the overview. Whatever you have overviewed, first read that portion. Then associate ideas in text with what they already know. We should associate our ideas of the text with the points which we already know. Then note whether their predictions and expectations about the content are being met. And this is also important for every reader to check at the end whether his or her expectations about the text met with the text or not. Then revise readers' prior knowledge when compelling new ideas conflicting with prior knowledge are encountered. So it is better to revise prior knowledge of the reader when compelling new ideas conflicting with prior knowledge are encountered. When some new conflict or new idea is being confronted, it's better to revise the prior knowledge so that we can check whether we are going according to the path of reading or not. Then figure out the meanings of unfamiliar vocabulary based on context clues. It's better to figure out the meanings of unfamiliar vocabulary. We should figure out the meanings of difficult words. Then underline and reread and make notes and paraphrase to remember important points. It's better to underline, to reread and make notes and paraphrase to remember the important points. Interpret the text. We should interpret the text, and a reader should evaluate its quality. A reader should review important points as they conclude reading. Then a reader should think about new ideas encountered in the text might be used in future. It's better for a reader to think about the new ideas which he or she encounters in the text, because these ideas may be used in future. Now, there are types of reading comprehension: literal comprehension, inferential comprehension, critical comprehension. What's literal comprehension? Literal comprehension involves what the author is actually saying. The reader needs to understand ideas and information explicitly stated in the reading material. Literal means surface reading, where the reader needs to understand what the author is simply speaking in the text. There is nothing to find out beyond the lines. Rather, it is better to see what is in between the lines. And some of this information is in the form of recognizing and recalling facts, identifying the main idea, supporting details, categorizing, outlining, and summarizing. And some of this information is in the form of recognizing and recalling facts, like identifying the main idea. So literal comprehension can be done by simply identifying the main idea, by simply going with the supporting details, by categorizing, by outlining and summarizing a text. So the reader is also locating information using context clues to supply meaning, following specific directions, following a sequence, identifying stated conclusions, and identifying explicitly stated relationships and organizational patterns. These are the points by which a reader can easily extract the information for the literal comprehension. This literal comprehension, it questions how, what, who, when, where. For example, what words state the main idea of the story? How does the author summarize what he's saying? Outlining the paragraph of the story. What happened first, what happened second, and at last? How are these things alike? How they are different? These are the questions which can be asked for literal comprehension. Or these are the questions which are being contained in literal comprehension. Then inferential comprehension. It means how author conveys, how he conveys. And it is the ability to process written information and understand the underlying meaning of the. It's simply to process the written information and understand its meaning. Like some of the things which are there in the text, like what does the author value? You need to find out what does the author value most? What is the theme of this text? What effect does the character or event have on story? This information is then used to infer or determine deeper meanings. Then you can be able to infer the meanings from the given paragraph. It is inferential because you try to find out these things. And these things, they help you to infer meaning from the text. This is what we call as inferential comprehension. Inferential comprehension requires readers to, number one, combine ideas, read between the lines, interpreting figurative language, because this is not literal language used there. It has been used, figurative language is used there. Drawing conclusions. So one should draw conclusions, predicting outcomes. One should try to predict the outcomes, determining the mood, and judging the author's viewpoint. These are the several points which we require for inferential comprehension. A reader must do these things for inferential comprehension, because it's not surface reading. It's better to combine ideas. It's better to read between the lines. It's better to interpret the figurative language, draw conclusions, predict outcomes, determine the mood of writer, judging the author's viewpoint. By doing all these things, a reader will be able for inferential comprehension. Then comes critical comprehension. Critical comprehension, it concerns itself why the author says. Why? It asks about why. A reader should know why is author speaking these things. So the high level of comprehension requires the reader to use some external criteria from his or her own experience in order to evaluate the quality, values of writing, author's reasoning, simplifications, generalizations, tone, mode of author, etc. The high level of comprehension, it requires the reader to use some external criteria from his own experience. So in order to evaluate a text, a reader should always use some external criteria from his own experience in order to evaluate a high level of text. Like, in order to evaluate the quality, value of writing, author's reasoning, it is better to use your own criteria, which you can deduce by your own experience. Because the text is not now literal, it's not figurative, it's wider in its claim. So you need to indulge yourself, you need to take censure from others so that you can critically interpret a text, you can critically comprehend a text. So the reader will react emotionally and intellectually with the material. When it is critical comprehension, there is a place for your emotions, for your intellectuality. You can interpret the text according to your own knowledge, your existing knowledge. Now, because everyone's life experiences are varied, so you can use your experience. Now, these things you should take in mind. This text talks about, could this possibly happen? You will ask yourself. When you ask yourself, So you will show your own censure, your own suggestions, your own views. Is this argument logical? When you feel about the validity or the logic of any argument, you are getting the freedom to share your own ideas. What alternatives are there? When you think upon the alternatives, what are the different alternatives there? Obviously, you are inviting yourself, you are inviting the censure of others, and when you take the censure of others, that's a critical comprehension. Is this a fact or an opinion? Then you think, then you are just checking that, is it a fact or an opinion? Is this the author showing his own ideas, or it's a fact? Do you agree or disagree with the author? What is the best solution to this problem? So these are certain questions which a reader for critical comprehension should try to find out the answers, should try to carry in his mind, so that he can allow himself his censure or others' censure. He can take help of others to interpret a text, and by interpreting text with all these means or it constitutes or it means a critical comprehension. So I talked about reading. I gave you the introduction of reading. Then I talked about reading comprehension. Then I elaborated reading comprehension with the help of certain definitions. One was by this American psychologist Walter Kinch. Then I took the help of another influential person by the name Snow. Then then I went on with reading comprehension. There I talked about what reading comprehension is and how one can be a good reader in order to comprehend a text. Then I talked about certain qualities which we require in a reader. There I took the help of American educational psychologist whose name is Michael Presley. I took Presley's help. So then I elaborated his points, what he talks about the readers, what are the different things which a reader should have in order to comprehend a text. Then I talked about reading comprehension, types of reading comprehension. Then I talked about literal comprehension, inferential comprehension, critical comprehension. Then we discussed literal comprehension. It's a surface reading where the reader is trying to find out what is the purpose for which the text has been written. He asks the questions like how, what, who, and when, and where. And these are the questions which one should ask oneself in order to comprehend a literal text. Then I talked about inferential comprehension. Inferential comprehension. There are certain things which we should know, like what does the author value, what is the theme, what effect does the character or event is having on the story. Then I talked about these are certain things which a reader should keep in mind while having an inferential comprehension. Then I talked about critical comprehension. For the critical comprehension, I told you that this is the comprehension where we give some space to the reader himself. He can emotionally and intellectually react to the text. And these are the questions which he should try to find out the answer in a text. By doing all this thing, we are able to do the critical comprehension of a text. If you want further clarification or if you want more material on reading comprehension, this is the list of the books. One is by Reverse Welga. She's an Australian linguist teaching foreign language skills, Chicago. Then we have another writer, English Language Arts, a curriculum guide for the middle level graduates. Middle level, it's for grade 6 and 9. Then we have another book, The Language Teaching Matrix, published by Cambridge University Press. If you go with these books, they'll help you to learn more about the reading comprehension. I would like to stop here today. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.